My name is Sonia, and I'm 17 years old. I live in a small town in Russia. My father doesn't earn much, and our family isn't wealthy. There are many things we can't afford, and one of those things is the internet. One day at school, a friend mentioned she had heard about a new service offering free internet access. She explained all you needed to do was connect to their network, named free Wi-Fi, and you could browse the internet as much as you wanted without paying a dime. It sounded too good to be true. That evening, I decided to give it a try. I powered up my laptop, searched for the free Wi-Fi network, and found it with an excellent signal. I connected, and my browser opened to a page with a black background and sinister red letters. Welcome to free Wi-Fi. Thank you for visiting. We don't require any payment or registration. All we ask for is some basic information about our visitors. Please answer the following question. On the page were 4 images: a bus, a boat, a train, and a plane, with a question below asking, "What is your usual mode of transport?" Since I biked to school, my dad didn't own a car, and we couldn't afford holidays. None of the options applied to me. So, I randomly chose the train and clicked on it. A thank you message appeared, and I was free to browse the internet. I was ecstatic. It seemed like all my problems were solved. I could now set up a Facebook account and stay in touch with friends on Twitter and Instagram. However, the next day, while watching TV, a breaking news alert interrupted the show. The local news reporter announced a horrific accident where a train had derailed while crossing a bridge, causing several carriages to plunge into the river below, killing almost everyone on board. I was horrified. Then, I remembered the website I had visited the night before and the train picture I had clicked. I tried convincing myself it was just a coincidence. I mean, what if I had chosen the plane? Would a plane crash have occurred the next day? The thought seemed ludicrous. That evening, I needed the internet again. I connected to the free Wi-Fi network, and the same page appeared, with a different question this time. There were 4 pictures of houses: a bungalow, a 2-story house, a 3-story house, and an apartment building. Below, in big, sinister red letters, was the question: which type of house do you live in? My family lived in a bungalow, and I was about to choose that option when I hesitated. My finger hovered over the mouse button, but I couldn't click it. What if my suspicions were correct? It was a silly thought, but I couldn't take the risk. Instead, I clicked on the apartment building, just to be safe. A thank you message flashed on the screen, and I was connected to the internet once more. The next day, the apartment building near my school burned down. Fortunately, the fire occurred during the day when most people were out. About 20 people perished in the blaze. The police suspected arson. I was worried. It was beginning to seem like more than a coincidence. No matter how crazy it sounded, I couldn't shake the feeling that somehow the free Wi-Fi was causing these tragedies. I decided I'd be better off if I just left it alone. However, that night, I began to doubt myself. The more I thought about it, the sillier it seemed. Was I just being paranoid? How could connecting to a free Wi-Fi network result in the deaths of over 100 people? Who would ever believe such a thing was possible? After almost an hour of contemplation, I convinced myself it was just an insane coincidence. I took out my laptop, turned it on, and connected to the free Wi-Fi. My internet browser opened again. There were 4 more pictures. When I saw them, I gasped in horror. The pictures were of my mother, my father, my little sister, and me. Below, in big sinister red letters, was the question: which of these is your favorite family member? At that moment, a chill ran down my spine. All my fears, all my doubts that I had tried to push aside, materialized before my eyes. How could this network, this free Wi-Fi, know these personal details about me and my family? And what would happen if I chose one of their pictures? I quickly closed my laptop, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew now that this wasn't something I could ignore or pass off as a coincidence any longer. I needed to take action, but I didn't know where to start or who to turn to. In that moment, I felt utterly helpless. That summer, when I moved into the house next door with my mom, I felt the weight of our struggles. My dad had left us years back, leaving a void that echoed through our empty pockets and quieter evenings. Being the new girl in town wasn't easy, especially with our financial burdens casting long shadows over my school days. Despite these barriers, I found a friend in the boy next door. We weren't close in the way childhood friends are, but his presence became a comfort, a familiar face in a crowd of strangers. He saw something in me from the start, a connection I couldn't quite return. My eyes were drawn to the more confident, handsome boys at school, leaving him in the friend zone, waiting for a chance that never came. I didn't have many people to talk to, so I confided in him. My complaints about life poured out, my mom's harsh discipline, the cruelty of schoolgirls who made me feel so small and insignificant, and my crush on a boy who didn't know I existed. He listened, a silent guardian of my sorrows. Then, I vanished from school. The rumors, the bullying, it all became too much. A popular girl had discovered my crush on her boyfriend and unleashed her venom. Her and her friends' taunts were relentless, and the lies they spread made me dread each day. I spiraled out of control in junior high. The late nights, the cigarettes, the alcohol. It was all a blur of trying to numb the pain. The rumors of drug use weren't entirely unfounded. My rebellion landed me in handcuffs. A night I spent under the cold gaze of fluorescent lights in a police station. The battles at home escalated. My relationship with my mom, already frayed, tore at the seams. We shouted into the night, uncaring who heard. The hatred from my peers was palpable. Their words scrawled across my home in ugly, bold letters. The loss of my cat. A cruel act that left me broken. Dropping out of high school seemed like my only escape. I retreated into my room, a sanctuary from a world that had turned its back on me. I stopped talking, stopped eating, stopped being. My mom, despite everything, tried to reach me, leaving food by my door. But I was too far gone. He visited, after so long. I couldn't face him. Couldn't bear to let him see what I had become. But eventually, his persistence wore me down. Through the barrier of my bedroom door, I shared my descent into darkness. The crimes, the drugs, the nights spent chasing shadows. I confessed to the shoplifting, the arrest, beatings from my mom when she reached her limit. I thought about ending it all, more times than I care to admit. The razor was my silent confidant, its sharp edge a promise of release. But he just listened, as he always did, offering non-committal responses that somehow comforted me. Gradually, his visits brightened my days. I began to see hope, a future. My mom cried when I stepped out of my room, a fragile step towards healing. Then, I jumped. The roof seemed like a path to freedom, but the fall only trapped me further. Paralyzed, my life changed forever. I was a burden, a shell of the girl I once was. When he visited me, after the hospital, I was overwhelmed with guilt. My apologies spilled out, a torrent of regret. I couldn't stop crying, wishing I hadn't survived. He tried to comfort me, his embrace awkward but filled with a warmth I hadn't felt in so long. And then, he asked me to marry him. Really? Are you serious? Me? I couldn't believe it. He had to ask several times before I believed his sincerity. My tears dried up as he reassured me of his love. A love that had endured even at my worst. He loved me when I ignored him. When I spiraled out of control. When I secluded myself from the world. He was there. Even in my darkest moments. Moments I now realized he had a hand in creating. The bullying. The graffiti. The rumor mill. Even the death of my cat. It was all him. And yet, as I lay there, weak and immobile, he still loved me. He saw me as the perfect girl for him. Soon, we'll be married. I was this young kid named Michael, living it up with my folks. When my dad snagged a new gig in the city, we moved into this apartment at the top of an ancient residential tower. Every day, coming back from school, I had to ride the elevator all the way up to the 25th floor. A few days in, I started getting this gnarly feeling every time I hopped into the elevator. Couldn't really pin down why, but I just had this vibe that someone was watching me. Plus, I thought I caught some weird whispers and mumblings as we shot up to our floor. One day, getting back from school, I ran into some older kids from the same tower. They were a couple of years ahead of me, and I noticed they totally ditched the elevator for the stairs. I caught up to them on the stairwell. I was like, "Hey, why aren't you guys taking the elevator?" They spilled about some rumors floating around among the kids living in the tower. Turns out, all the other kids believed the elevator was haunted. They talked about hearing freaky screams and groans coming out of the elevator shaft. They also dished about a kid who vanished in the tower just a few months before me and my folks rolled in. I got this heavy feeling in my gut as they laid out the story. They said the kid just up and vanished, and nobody could track him down. He was still on the missing persons list. The grown-ups figured he must have been snatched, and the cops were still on the case. But the kids thought it was something to do with the creepy elevator. That's why they steered clear of it as much as possible. When I hit the top of the stairs, I bolted into our apartment and spilled to my mom about the eerie tales the older kids shared with me. She just laughed it off, saying those were the typical rumors and legends kids and teens dig scaring each other with. My mom was like, "No such thing as a haunted elevator. Believing in that stuff is just childish." But man, I just couldn't shake off being spooked by that old elevator. I started hitting the stairs as much as I could, even though it was a serious hike and left me winded and sweaty. The only time I'd risk the elevator was when my mom or dad were with me. I figured nothing bad would go down as long as one of my folks was there to watch my back. One night, I got home super late after football practice, totally beat and dreading the climb. I walked into the lobby of our tower and let out a sigh of relief when I saw my mom there, back turned, waiting for the elevator. The doors swung open. She stepped in, and I hopped in after her. The door snapped shut, and that's when it hit me. The light was busted. We were plunged into pitch black. Instantly, I was drenched in a cold sweat. We began our ascent. Amid the darkness, I caught this spooky chuckling sound. "Mom, you hear that?" I asked, all jittery. As we climbed, the chuckling got louder, turning into this wicked laughter. "That's the noise I was telling you about." "Mom!" I blurted out, freaked to the max. Chills ran down my spine when a deep voice responded. "You really thought I was your mom?"